All right, everybody. Welcome back to another Reup Productions podcast. Today we have Brad Zibung.
Close. Zibung.
Mm-hmm.
You just call me Brad Z. That's cool.
Brad Z.
Yeah.
Brad, how you doing today, man?
I'm great. How about you?
Living the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've been saying this a lot over this last week. We've gotten some guests that are like way more established than what we're calling season one, where they were newer agents, but understood the idea of social media. But now, like, kind of flipping the page, I'm talking to people that are like way more established and have built a business. So for me, just being as a young entrepreneur, I love these types of conversations because I get to pick your brain.
Sure.
So let's just start off easy. How'd you get into real estate? Was it your calling? Fall backwards?
Falling backwards might make sense. Yeah, it's my third career.
Okay.
My first career, I moved to Chicago in '99, right when I graduated college, before you were probably born. And
91, baby.
All right, there you go. So you're 8. And I worked at Leo Burnett, an ad agency downtown, in their PR department for 5 years.
Very cool.
Left there. When I was there, some friends and I started a satirical publication about the Cubs called the Heckler. One of our first sponsors was StubHub.com. They were looking for people in their big markets to help with on the ground operations. So I left Leo Burnett in 2004 and then went to StubHub. I wound up being there for 10 years. My last couple of years were sort of, I didn't really, I wasn't really feeling it. And one of my friends who had been in real estate for a number of years to that point, Craig Isaacson, his name is, he called me one day just to kind of like check in. He was like stuck in traffic or whatever. He's like, how's your job? I'm like, so, whatever. And he's like, oh, you should get a real estate license. You can start working with me. I'd never thought about it to that point. My father-in-law is a real estate attorney, and my wife and I at that point we bought a condo, and he represented us because he also had his license at the time. So like I didn't even have any real experience with real estate agents to that point.
Yeah.
But I started kind of researching it and learning how the licensing process worked, talking to friends who were in real estate here and in other markets, and just went for it and quit StubHub at the end of 2014, and I've been full-time real estate agent ever since.
That's crazy. So you guys, did you get in pretty early with StubHub then?
I was their first employee on the ground outside of their headquarters. Yeah, it was pretty wild. I mean, it was very much a startup. It was kind of the wild, wild west. And also like, the secondary ticket market like was crazy. So I dealt with all kinds of people. A lot of people I'm still really good friends with, like ticket brokers who were just had wild stories, and like a lot of ticket brokers in Chicago, kind of like the ones who were like of a certain generation now.
A certain ilk.
They made their money like during the Jordan era and like during the Sammy Sosa era. So like, and that was before the internet was a thing. And like, there was no transparency into how the market worked. So like they have crazy stories.
I can only imagine. I think sometimes the secondary market can get kind of a bad rap. What do you think?
It's mixed, right? And it's like, you can see value in it in a lot of ways. And then you can also see how like a lot of sort of resale markets, the inefficiency of the market enables middlemen to like sometimes make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Right. And not really add any value to the process. Totally. Right. So it could go either way, I mean, it's great to like, if you, especially before the internet, like if you were like, oh, I really want to go see the Bulls and the Lakers tomorrow night, like, Jordan versus Magic in like the 90s, like game's been sold out for months. Like, what are you going to do? To have someone you could call who could like navigate it for you and find you like tickets at whatever price, like why not, right?
Yeah.
So it's different. It's different now.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wild market. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
I learned a lot about like that I applied to real estate in both my previous jobs. StubHub, we needed to know how to like keep clients happy and like fulfill the commitments to them, right? So like that I learned a lot and that's wild too, because let's say it's like, okay, it's, I don't know, 2009 and like Justin Bieber's coming to town.
Yeah.
And you got all these like moms
Teeny
with their
boppers.
with their screaming girls, rolling into your office to pick up tickets. Like if you tell them, "Oh, I'm sorry, your tickets aren't here," or "Oh, I know we told you we had seats for you in row 1. We actually got them in row 35." Like hell hath no fury, like that like that mother is about to unleash on you. So you understand taking things seriously, and it's like
Totally.
you might do that every day, but like to them that's the same as there's a lot of things that apply to real estate and like working with clients, managing their expectations, making sure they're beyond satisfied, So I learned a lot from that. And then when I was at Burnett, I learned a ton about communications. I was in the PR department. My old boss at the time,
One of the top agencies in the city.
world. But my boss at the time, I learned a lot of like one-offs from him because he was the corporate spokesperson for Burnett, and like I still, like if someone's asking you a question, you don't know the answer, that's okay, but you need to stick to what you know, right? So that's the same as in real estate. Like someone walks into a property and they're like, "How old's the roof?" It's okay to say you either don't know or like, we've been told X, Y, Z. But what you can't do is just like make up an answer, right? Which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So, or they just kind of talk out of their ass, for lack of a better term. So, so real estate's my third career. I've been doing it about a decade now.
Do you think having that experience, well, obviously having the experience of the other careers, like it obviously helped you just transition a lot faster?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think was the biggest hurdle you found as like moving into real estate, right?
Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, income wise, it takes a while, right?
Building business.
Yeah. Well, and every it was wild to me when I've probably said wild 15 times so far, but that's true.
Crazy.
Yeah. But I started at Properties, and they do an amazing job, like sort of onboarding new agents and kind of prepping them for it. Like they had this real estate 101 program that I went to that was like phenomenal. It was like a 13-week class, like pretty intensive stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not every brokerage does that, right?
No.
So I learned a lot from that. But the first day for that, they had like this orientation, and they had everyone go around the room and say one thing they were excited about as related to their career in real estate and one thing that they were nervous about. Almost every single person said that they were excited about the unlimited income potential. I'm like, I was like, that's what makes me nervous, because it's unlimited on either side, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of people get into it, and like a lot of the licensing classes about like commission and stuff like that, and like it doesn't tell you like, okay, if the commission is X, this percentage is going to go to the brokerage, this percentage is going to go to your team. This is what you're left with, right? So like starting out, like if I had a couple decent closings my first year, I'd be like driving away from the closing, like I hadn't even cashed the check yet, and I'm already in my head being like, okay, this is what's going to be due for taxes. This is what's going to be due for my credit card bill. And I was like, I'm still in the hole, right? So, and that happens to this day,
Yep.
When the market slows down, whatever, you're like, or if it's like, January and you haven't gotten a decent sized check in a few months, like, you can only plan for so much. So that's part of it. I mean, so that was a big learning curve. But to me, there's three things you need to be successful in this business. The first is you need to have or be able to grow a good network, right? The second is you need to know how to keep clients happy,
100%
right? And then the third is you need to know the way the business works. I had the first two down pretty tight from my previous time, my previous jobs, my previous experience in Chicago. The third one I didn't know anything about, right? So I learned a ton from Craig, my old partner and mentor. I learned a ton at Properties. And I learned a ton from just like
doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's some of most of my business comes from my network, and some of my like really good friends have been clients. Sometimes it winds up not being like an amazing situation, right? Like the
friends and clients.
Yeah, like the deal goes sideways, or whatever, right? And early on, like I learned a lot of lessons the hard way when I have like. And then it's like it's amplified by the fact that it's a friend involved, and you obviously. I mean, I always want to do better for better for my friends. Whereas a lot of people, I feel like because it's a friend, they're like, oh, they'll be cool. It's my friend. No, but like when it's your friend who's on the other side of the deal with you, or if it's a friend who's in the deal with you and you're representing them, like you're that much more.
I always feel that there's such a pressure with friends. That's why I'm always like. Sometimes I shy away from it because it's just like I just like, I don't want to fuck it up.
Of
Or
course.
I want to screw it up. We'll get rid of this.
Bleep. Yeah.
But I think that always puts like a weird pressure on it. You know what I mean?
One of my first big listing ever was a friend of mine, and it didn't go well, and they wound up firing us. This was 2015-ish, maybe 2016. And it was that I had sleepless nights because of it, right? And I told myself, I was like, okay, do I just like not work with friends? And then I was like, no, that's stupid. Like I've been in Chicago at that point for 15, 16 years, and I know a ton of people. I have really good friends, and I think I have a pretty good reputation with them. So like, that's an asset for me in this business. So I'm not gonna walk away from that.
Yeah.
But but then how do I approach it? So I'm like, well, I know that I'm high integrity, and that I'm gonna always try to do what's right for my clients. Sometimes things just get messy. Also, a lot of the reason that first thing didn't go well was because I didn't really know what I was doing yet. You know,
Yeah.
So I told myself, well, all I can do is be who I am and bring integrity to the situation and try to do what's right by my clients and try to communicate thoroughly and, deliver at a high level. If it doesn't go well, I'll know that I at least put everything I had into it.
Yeah.
So there definitely are some friends I would probably not work
maybe this ain't gonna work.
Yeah, but overall though, that was how I sort of got my head around that going forward.
When you're thinking about, all right, so for me, this is something I can't wait to ask you. It's been not a struggle. It's a new thing, owning my own business. So then I need to be the forward fronting person of it. And networking is not necessarily something that has come like natural to me. It's more of like, I'm a creative. I want to be behind the computer or the camera. So what are some of the like maybe just insights to that? Like, hey, getting yourself out there. What are some of the things that maybe helped you along the way?
Yeah, there have been a lot of things along the way, and if I had to like look at every year that I've been in the business, there's been at least one thing during that, like in each year, where I could be like, oh, that was a big stepping stone for me. Or sometimes it's like a step back, but then you can turn that into
something else.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the most painful experiences I've had are the ones I learned the most from. Right.
100%.
So for me, even before getting into what you're asking about, you have to kind of figure out how you're going to set up your business. And it's really tough because you're trying to set your business up for what you want to become, but based on what you know about it now. Right.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wow. Yeah.
That there's the financial piece, right?
Yeah.
So I jumped to Compass in 2018. I brought two agents with me, one who was a friend who I had worked a little bit with, the other one who was a member of our team. So there were three of us, and we were like trying to figure out how to structure our team, and we weren't doing a great job at it because we didn't really have anything to work against, right? Yeah. So the summer of 2019, so at this point it had been like almost a year that I had been at Compass. My father-in-law, who, as I mentioned earlier, he is a real estate attorney, representative of his at Chicago Title, let him know like, hey, we're having this luncheon. It was like lunch and learn kind of thing, whatever.
Used to be very big.
Yeah.
For those attorneys.
Yeah. And he was like, it's for agents, so invite agents that in your network. So he forwarded it to me, and I went, and I didn't really know what I was. It was like at the it was at the Renaissance Hotel, I think, which is funny because I started my career in Chicago right next door at Leo Burnett. So it was kind of a full circle moment. So I'm at this luncheon, and this guy gets up and starts talking, and he's like the keynote speaker, and he represented a company that does coaching. It wasn't a company I'd heard of before. And I left there being like, okay, I don't know if it's these people, but like I need a coach, because what they're talking about is, we were at the time, my little team and I were trying to sort of recreate this create from scratch, like this model for how we wanted to operate our business. And it didn't work. It didn't make sense. Yeah. And it's like, there's enough people in this business who have figured out ways to make this work. So then I stayed in touch with that company and wound up hiring them. It was the beginning of 2020, which wound up being an amazing time to like reevaluate everything, because in like 3 months, everything shut down.
Yeah.
So that was obviously a very harrowing time. The company's called Workman Success Solutions. They're based in Utah. My coach, they assign you like a personal coach. She's phenomenal. Like like that alone.
Shout out.
Yeah, her name's Caprice Gunn. She's phenomenal. We have 2-hour-long sessions each month, and then some stuff outside of that. But that alone, and they have a lot of tools and stuff and like org charts that you can work against, that sort of stuff. And they have a lot of like really good like online training modules that I've watched a lot of them and I've learned a ton from it. But like it helped me set the business up in a way that I think can continue scaling for the future. And then it helped me understand, and I'm still not there, but it helped me understand what I should be spending the majority of my time on doing. Yeah. So like that helped. That's helped a lot. I mean, I still have a long way to go. I still work way too much. Totally. But my team, so that was the beginning of 2020. End of 2020, Caprice and I worked together to put out a job posting for what we called at the time, client care coordinator. Yeah. And that was like, we had like hundreds, it was for a part-time job. It was like $20 an hour. We had hundreds of people apply because that was when everything was shut down. So like a lot of people were like hospitality jobs. Yeah. A lot of restaurant manager type people who were like, so one of my friends who's become my accountability partner, that's another thing I highly recommend. She helped screen candidates for me. Okay. One day I was like driving. I still remember where I was. I was headed north on Ashland. I had just crossed Webster and my phone rang and it was this woman and she was calling about the job opening. And I was like, why is this lady calling? Like you just apply online. Like, why is she calling? But then we talked for like probably 5-10 minutes and I was like, she seems pretty awesome. And actually like in this business, not being afraid of making phone calls
is important.
It can help quite a bit. So her name's Danielle. She joined our team as originally client care coordinator. Now she's our operations manager and she's been like a godsend, right? So like I hit the lottery with her. Part of it was right place, right time, but also like putting it out there, right? Like if it wouldn't have been because of my coach Caprice, I wouldn't have put this out there that we wanted to fill this position, and we wouldn't have found Danielle. So there've been a lot of things like that along the way. So like before you even try to figure out exactly how you want to set things up, you got to kind of figure out how you're going to get there, right? Totally. So it was a leap of faith, right? Like I didn't really have much cash flow. Right now, I'm still working on the cash flow thing, right? Because the market's been a little wonky, but yeah. So, but yeah, you got to kind of figure out because you can't do it all. No. Not at all. Previous, like even like I learned a ton when I was doing the Heckler, the satirical sports publication we were talking about earlier. Where I like in my head, I thought I had to do everything. I thought I had to be the one to like sell the ads, produce the content. Balance the books. Like it was a disaster in a lot of ways. I mean, it was awesome in a lot of ways. I learned a ton. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of awesome people through it, but
that's all you do.
Yeah.
If you're doing everything, you're just living that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, part of me still does way too much with our business. I understand that. Like there's 6 of us on our team. I love every one of our team members. We're great. We have a lot going for us and we do a good job. We have a much higher ceiling than we're at right now. But, I like a lot of things, if they don't have a clear owner, it winds up falling like on me or maybe Danielle or whatever, right? So like we have to kind of keep working through that. It's really tough to plan in this business because it's like some people bring on like, full-time listing coordinators, but like guess what? Most of your listing activity happens like in whatever, first quarter and a half or first half of the year. Yeah. Then what's that listing coordinator working on in the second half of the year? There's still stuff to do.
Totally.
So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my take. Like you got to kind of like zoom out and figure out how do you want things to work and how do you get there. And sometimes it's really hard where it's like, it takes cash to put operations in place,
I would say this year, over the last like 6 months, that idea of I love my hands on everything. And I've started to realize like Memo is the voice of reason in all of this, where it's like,
shout out to Memo,
dude, you can't do all like, get your, he's like, he says something else, but he's like, get your hands off everything. And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I have to do it. And
It's tough. I struggle with a lot of that too. It's tough. You got to ask yourself, like, for me, the most important thing I can do is build new business, bring in new revenue, and keep the lights on, right? That's the most important thing I can do. Everyone else on my team has some responsibility to that too, but like,
that's my job.
Yeah. Well,
it's our job, but
yeah, I mean, I've got an amazing network. I've been doing this a long time. Like, people call me, right? Like so like I need to be able to focus on that, and it's tough to focus on that if I'm also doing a lot of things that like don't directly drive revenue, right?
Yeah.
And then surrounding yourself with people you trust who, if I can't be in the room, I still need to know that the people who are in the room are representing us well, representing our clients well, communicating in a good way. And, so and also like a lot of people get hung up on like, I'll just do it. Well, what is it? Right. And like, okay, if there's a typo on the MLS listing, how do you know that wouldn't have happened if you did it?
Right.
And, so there's a ton, right? Like at one point we bucketed everything like pretty much everything we do. And because we have checklists for everything, and like we like bucketed everything, and it's like, does this immediately drive revenue or not? And like they're both equally important, right? But if it immediately drives revenue, that's a different
situation.
Yeah, it's a different level than if it doesn't immediately drive revenue.
That's so it goes back to this idea of zooming out. How do you in the moment zoom out of that? Like it's easy to talk about it abstractly, but in the moment it's like, how can I zoom out, and is this driving revenue or not? Well,
I think it depends on the urgency of it all, right? Like there's times where
this person's pissed and we got to figure it out.
Yeah, or like, a transaction's imploding and like you gotta like figure it out, So the first priority is stop the bleeding, and then the next priority is, okay, like how do we build on this in the future?
We don't have that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So that's tough. It's very situational, and I struggle with a lot of elements of this business, and it's sort of like part of me, even after 10 years, wonders like how sustainable is like all of this business, because it's like,
can it run without me?
Well, right. And also it's like, it's from whenever, like the late 90s or whatever, but the movie Sliding Doors, where it's like, okay, if you wind up in that train car, you wind up meeting your spouse. If the door closes before you get there, you don't meet. So the same thing happens where it's like, someone like yesterday, I have no idea how this is going to play out, but yesterday a woman posted in a neighborhood message board on Facebook, a neighborhood group, does anyone have an appraiser? So one of my clients, who's also a good friend, tagged me in it, and I messaged the woman. I was like, I'm not, typically I don't think whatever's going on, like you don't necessarily need an appraiser if you're just trying to figure out the value of your property. Like, let's have a conversation. So then she and I talked this morning, and turns out she's going through a divorce. She and her estranged husband are like trying to figure out how they're going to divide up their assets.
Damn.
So they were going to spend money on an appraiser. I'm like, you might still need to do that, but like at the very least, I would have each side bring on. But like that, like if that woman wouldn't have tagged me in that, and if I wouldn't have reached out, like that conversation never even happened, right? So like that element of this business is just maddening. That's life, right?
Yeah.
So
you can't close. You can. It's like the whole idea of the shots. Like what you miss every shot you don't take.
right, for sure. So but like, I don't know. We've set the stuff up with our team in a way that like, as a team, we're going through our list of, like our pipelines, our like lead list every at least once a week, like formally, we're all going through our stuff together. We track our like prospecting activity. Like we focus, I think, on the right stuff to get us to a spot where, there's so many like little stupid, like live, laugh, love kind of sayings, but like, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Right.
Yeah.
So create your own luck, all that crap.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what your question was.
Well, it was about it initially started about how someone that's new to kind of sales and putting yourself out there and networking, how you can, what are like some of the concepts you should have, and then we went into another aspect. But where you went, I enjoyed, because it still rang true to me. Like figuring out some of these processes, figuring out how like just like navigating it all.
Well,
right?
In any business, I feel like. So like I'll focus on real estate because that's what we're talking about. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Every transaction is different, but they all have very similar milestones, right? So if you can build operations around those milestones and then have some clear owners of things along that way.
Yeah.
A lot of agents I know, it's like, I'll be at like inspections, and they're like they're like coaching their buyer client through like the inspection process. I'm like, is really being at the inspection the time to do that? Like, shouldn't you have at least put something out to them in advance that like, so like a few years ago, Danielle and I worked together to put together like templates for every like milestone in the transaction. So we're always putting that out there to our clients.
Nice.
We don't expect them to remember all that, but what we want them to know is that we're involved from start to finish. We do this every day. We know what we're doing. And also like, I have way fewer people saying, "Oh, you didn't tell me what's going to happen at the inspection." So now I'm confused and I'm angry because we're putting it out there now. So even if they didn't read everything, they at least know that they have access to it and they can kind of pull it. So like my guess is that every business has things like that are sort of similar. You can replicate because that's like kind of like the churn or the flow of your business, right? So I mean, the number of agents I feel like who treat the deal, like every deal, like it's like a magic trick or they're just like, they're not properly preparing their clients for it. That's a wasted opportunity. And I think that happens in probably
every industry.
Probably.
How are you using video to do some of those processes? Like, I know for us, we have plenty of clients that will take their processes and like create video content to be like, this is what's happening next.
We don't. Yeah, and that's actually, my coach and I have talked about that. We don't do that yet. I'd like to. But yeah, it'd be nice if okay, hey, you can read this or you can watch this. It's going to tell you what to expect next. We haven't done that yet. I would love to, but we just haven't gotten there yet. And it could be as easy as like just shooting yourself on Zoom and recording it, or like
100%,
or just shooting yourself on your phone and recording it, or doing it more professionally. But yeah, I would love to do that. We haven't yet. I mean, we use video to help showcase a lot of our listings.
Yeah.
What I think oftentimes happens is like, maybe someone who's interested in that property is going to see the listing, but I think what happens more often is that like the neighbors see it and they're like, oh, when we sell our place, we want to do a cool video like that. We should call that agent. That happens for sure. Maybe edit that out because that's a secret. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things in this business that I don't even like to talk about because I feel like it's helped me be successful. And it's like,
well, that's something we say all the time is that the property tour listing isn't for your client. It's for the next 5 clients you get.
Yeah. I mean,
it can help.
Like it can help for sure. But yeah, it's as much to promote. It's sort of like, agents want to host open houses so they can meet unrepresented buyers as much as they want to help showcase the property,
Oh yeah, of course.
So that's one way we use video. We use video. One of my friends is an amazing videographer, and I met him my second day ever in Chicago. And we do a lot. We started doing like some sort of fun, irreverent stuff. I do my Ask Brad Anything videos that you may have seen. Yeah,
they're awesome, man.
So now my team's been doing those too, Kristen and Justin.
Good.
And it's cool. It's like half the time it's not, or probably even more than half the time, it's not even about real estate. It's just like people asking us random questions that we're answering, So it's like, I like doing that because it helps.
Internet.
Yeah. Well, I like doing that because it helps show a side of us that, I mean, and I think so many people in this business do like the same, just like crappy, bougie, fake content where it's, like the slow-mo of them like on their cell phones and stuff.
We've made many of those. Don't worry.
I'm sure.
Don't worry.
I mean, people have to, you got to find your voice and you got to do what you're comfortable with, but like that's
not you.
I am definitely not that person.
Which is cool.
I've always wanted to do like,
I think that's what you shine through though. Like when I look at your content, I'm like, I feel like I know who you are. I know what you're about. And I feel like I understand you.
Yeah, well,
which is amazing.
I try to be humorous in life, and I also like. I mean, I want to work with clients who understand that and are similar, right? Like, I don't like if someone's going to be impressed by some agent posting them like slow mo rolling down the street in their like Range Rover, like they're probably not going to be impressed with what I bring to the table, and that's okay. Like I'm not. I learned that too when it comes to like growing my team and just growing my business. I'm not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. The way we set up our team is very collaborative, and it costs money to be collaborative. So like the splits that my team members have can't always be the best, particularly if it's deals that we're collaborating on. But the agents who value the structure that we provide, like I'm like basically mandatory that people on my team take vacation, and when they do, that they can like set up an out of office email and like let their clients know, hey, I'm going to be out of town. Brad and Kristen are going to be covering for me. Call them.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
That costs money, right? So like agents who are like, oh, I need a 100% split, and I need leads like crazy. Like that's not what we're about. So that's okay. And also like prospective teammates who see our videos and say, oh, these guys like they seem smart, but they also seem like they enjoy what they're doing and that they're fun. Like those are the kind of people I want to attract. Same with on the client side. I want clients who understand. Like some agents, like they either never take vacation, which is a disaster, or they like take vacation, but then it's like they're playing hooky.
Yeah.
Which is also a disaster. So then their clients are like, hey, I want to go check out this house. And they're like, they're like on the Eiffel Tower, like, I can't get there till, like
I'll be there in 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. Or they just don't answer their, like they don't want to get showing requests at their listings or whatever. So it's like, that's bonkers, right? So what I've learned too is if you can be upfront with your clients, I want clients to understand that, but then also understand that like I'm working really hard to make sure that if I'm not there,
someone else is.
And they're good. They're also like really good at their jobs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't remember what your question was.
Well, that's cool. I like that you're about that. I like that.
You gotta be.
Well, I've seen it many different ways. I've seen it be the straight, because I've talked to a good amount of people at this point. I've seen it the complete opposite. Like, no, we're here to grind, and that's what we're gonna do. And
we do that too, but we also try to,
chill.
Yeah.
And like live life.
Yeah. And we all cover for each other, and like I want people who are like proud to cover for their teammates because they know their teammates are going to cover for them.
Yeah. Well, I don't want it to sound like because you take time for yourself that you don't grind, because that's craziness. You have to be able to take time for yourself so that you can grind harder. But I've seen people be on every app, but I like where you're at with it. It just seems like I would want to work harder for someone that pays me a little more, but also I can take a breath.
And we're definitely not there yet. I mean, we still have a long way to go to be like, what's the whole, like the, run your business so your business doesn't run you, right? Yeah. Like our business still runs us to some extent, right? Like, I mean, it's not, especially this time of year. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but it's,
it's busy time.
Yeah. We're like just getting into what should be pretty hectic and robust and, I don't know, like a fist fight of a spring market,
Oh yeah. So. Where do you see yourself kind of in the city? Are you someone that sticks more to downtown, or is your team pretty all over the place?
That's a great question. So I live in Wicker Park. That's where we are right now.
Holding it down.
Yeah. And then our office is in Bucktown. One of my teammates, Kristen, she and her boyfriend just bought a place not too far from me in Wicker Park. My teammate, Justin, lives in Rogers Park. Our teammate, Neha, lives in West Loop. So like when it comes to like spreading the business around, I try to do it in a way that like makes sense geographically.
Cool.
And then, I get a lot of like, probably a month or so ago, I got a lead for a buyer who was looking either North Shore or Western suburbs. Like I did a couple showings for them, just like video tours in Evanston, but like I was very upfront. I was like, I don't really know these areas. So instead I introduced them to agents from my brokerage from Compass in both those locations. So then we worked out a referral agreement. I know they're in good hands because one of the agents I worked with a bunch, she's amazing. And the other one came highly regarded on the North Shore. So, I try to be smart about it. There will be times where I'll take listings that are like not necessarily in areas that I know, but I want to make sure. And I'm very upfront with my clients about it. Like, I don't really know this area, but I think we can do this together, right? So, but I mean, especially, the construction season is about to start back up, and like none of us want to spend a half of our day trapped in our cars, and the whole concept of rush hour traffic is kind of funny because no one's rushing anywhere. It's
they're just sitting there.
Yeah. So you got to kind of be smart about it that way too.
For sure.
Right? Yeah, it's sitting hour traffic. And it's also not rush hour. It's like rush 3 month period, and it's not rush. It's log jam.
Yeah. So. Well, that's good. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a kind of a misnomer, right?
So that's cool. I like that you guys are a little bit more strategic with it. Was that just by design, or it's like, hey,
Well, it's also a work in progress, right? Because it's like I generate a fair amount of the business for our team, and
so daddy brings it in.
yeah, well, and it's like, okay, if I get a call and someone wants, like lots of times too, like specifically on the buyer side,
Cool.
clients' needs shift, right? Where like if they call me and they're like, hey, we're looking in whatever XYZ neighborhood, and then they start doing some research and learning more about the process and their budget and everything, they might shift neighborhoods, and then it's like, am I still partnering them with someone who is best suited to cover that neighborhood for them? So what I try to do sometimes is like spend more time with those clients before I transition them to kind of help their focus.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes too, like it, I try to prioritize geography, and then also, each one of my teammates has pretty unique personality and work traits, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
want to make sure that we're partnering them with people who make the most sense that way too.
That's cool. As we're gearing up for busy time. What does that look like for you guys? Are you guys you guys working all day, all night?
Yeah, it's pretty relentless right now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really complain, right? I mean, and it's also, I think a lot of people are still waiting to see exactly what this year and market are going to be like. So, you do in this business, you do a lot of work for free, right? And it's fine. I'm also a big proponent of karma, so it's like I'll help anybody with anything, and if it doesn't result in an immediate payout, that's okay, right? Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is it's really busy right now, and like it's not like super transactionally busy just yet, but slowly but surely we've got deals that are coming together. We've got buyers who are really starting to dig into their search. One of my clients used to be a trader, Trader, not traitor with a T. He might have been a trader too. I don't know, but he was definitely he was like some sort of options trader or something, and he thinks that this year, this is actually coming true more than I think even he thought. A lot of buyers are sort of waiting it out because people are hoping that rates come down. So if and when that happens, I think it's going to be like, it's going to be a fist fight. Yeah. Even more than it is right now. Cause you're still seeing very low inventory, even if buyer enthusiasm is not quite as strong as some springs have been.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
So I kind of want to take this conversation. We're in a really awesome property right now that you hosting us in, which thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Talk to me more about this place. What are some of the key features to it? Obviously, location's amazing, and that's half of it, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me.
So it's a townhouse at 2036 West Lemoyne, 10-unit building, right down, like just down the street from like
Six
Big
Corners.
Star and the actual Wicker Park and a lot of awesome restaurants. Yeah, the Milwaukee Damon and North intersection. It's a phenomenal location. 3-bed, 3-bath, 4 stories of living space, and then a pretty decent sized roof deck on top of us.
Nice.
Yeah.
We were thinking about having it up there.
Oh yeah. It's still, and it's a little windy out. It would have been
Memo
tough
was
for
like, dude, this is gonna be cold.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
You said
Yeah.
good call.
Yeah, so it's good call, yes. So phenomenal location, and my clients were double income, no kids, 2 or 3 dogs, depending on the time, and they loved it here. They moved to the burbs, and I know part of them misses it. But all my friends who wind up moving to the burbs talk about how much they miss the restaurant scene in the city.
I would imagine.
Yeah, because it's like
I feel like if I'm moving out of the city, I'm going to the woods, and there's no one near me. You know what I mean? Like I'm either in it or
Right.
I need some space.
there's definitely that element. Yeah, for sure, for
Like,
sure.
I'm not going to where a house is right next to me.
Right. Yeah. No. Fair.
Cool. So lovely place. We're gonna show some photos of it.
Great.
And some video.
Great.
Maybe give you a little plug.
Sure. Appreciate that.
Help you sell it a little more.
Yeah, appreciate
a little
that.
quicker.
Well, hopefully by the time this thing runs, we've got a contract in place.
Yeah.
We'll see. No guarantees in this business.
Right. But I kind of want to end the conversation with social media.
Sure.
Because we touched on it a little bit, but I feel like social media is really going to take off for all ages. Like it's going to be in the sense of like you have to be on social media and have a strong presence, or buyers, sellers are not going to take you as an agent as serious. Give me some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're probably past what you're describing, right? I mean, I think there are still agents out there who maybe don't have much of a social media footprint who get business kind of based on legacy type stuff or things like that. Or, there's probably a fair amount of agents who maybe do a handful of deals every year, and maybe they're higher dollar deals, or maybe they're at a point in their lives where like it's kind of almost, a secondary thing for them. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to put out content that is what you're choosing, and you shape the conversation, right? So yeah, I mean, you got to have some kind of strategy around it.
Yeah.
My brokerage Compass, they have really good tools for like, just particularly like, oh, okay, today's Tuesday. Here's a testimonial Tuesday. It takes you 3 seconds to put together the image, post it, and then you get the pat on your back, the self pat on your back for shamelessly promoting yourself. That's the other thing too. It's like, I got over that a while ago where
shamelessly promoting yourself.
Yeah,
you have
got
to do it.
You got to. Some people would say it's unfortunate, but like, if I'm not going to promote myself, I can't expect anyone else to.
Who cares?
I'm really lucky. My wife works in media and has a pretty good following, and she and I have a very similar approach to and take on life, right? So like, we share. Yeah. That's why we got married, I guess. But she and I share a lot of the same stuff, and I've always kind of joked that she's sort of my director of marketing, because sometimes she'll share, like, we started doing these online, I hate the term webinar, but these like home buyer, I hate the term presentation. I don't really know what to call it, but basically like how to buy a home. Yeah. My teammate Kristen and I do this like 45-minute or so thing just through like Webinar Jam. Sometimes we do it live, sometimes it's pre-recorded. But like my wife will share it and then like people will join. Right. So like that's pretty great. So without that sort of stuff, it's like you're not, the whole concept of like staying top of mind. Right. I mean, social media, and like even when I got started in this business 10 years ago, my teammate or we'd like have a deal close, or I'd be at a new listing and check it, and I'd post about it, and then like post on Facebook, and somebody go, hey, my cousin's looking for a condo just like that. Do you mind if I connect? Like that wouldn't happen without that social media element of it, right? So it's all I know. There's a lot of people who've been in the business before social media was a big thing, and they either embrace it or
run away from it.
Yeah, hate it, resent it. I mean, in some ways it's exhausting, right? It's like you gotta always be
continuous grind of it. Yeah,
you always have to be present. But then also, we talked about like the Ask Brad Anything videos that we do. My buddy Drew and I will shoot like 30 of them in one sitting, and then he'll gradually edit them. We'll put together elements for them, and then it's like we try to post a couple
slow
a week.
burn, baby.
Yeah, so it's like, if we shoot just 3 or 4 times a year, and then it's a lot of it's sort of like user generated content, because we're asking people what they want, the questions they want us to answer.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, some agents do an amazing job like coming up with sort of like funny content on their own, and they do a great job like shooting stuff, and it's probably true to them, and they probably generate a lot of business from that too. So I mean, it's love it or hate it. I think in order to be successful, you have to embrace it. And it's an amazing opportunity, again, to be able to like put out there
it's free too.
Well, can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless,
it costs money it depends, but like to shoot the content.
Have us come.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But
good point.
I mean, just to be able to, I mean, how do people used to do it? I don't know, like park benches and Yellow Pages ads and like, whatever.
TV.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and also, you can come like a couple years ago, a couple years ago, I sort of borrowed an idea from an agent in a different market who posted on his for sale signs, free, I forget what it was. It was like, $250 worth of free tacos with purchase of this condo or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, how can I Chicagoify that? So I did a free case of Malort with purchase of this home. And that went a little viral.
You're trying to kill him.
Yeah, exactly. But then people gave me a hard time because I was giving out 6 bottles of Malort, and people were like, some of the hardcore Chicagoans were like, there's 12 in a case, dude. What are you doing? I'm like, hey, man, my promotions, my rules. Yeah.
Yo, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So people know me as a Malort realtor, which is hilarious because actually almost a year ago I stopped drinking, so I don't drink anymore.
Hey, good for you.
Yeah. So if people bring the Malort, I throw it over my shoulder or I'll give it to somebody else. But yeah, I guess to be known as the Malort realtor, that's
the Malort in old style. You could have had
the Chicago handshake.
You should have. Oh.
Yeah, I used to be a big old style proponent.
I'm trying to. I got a story. I've been trying to get old style to sponsor or do something with us for so long because I love it. Like I've always wanted to do this campaign. It's like just like something wild happens at a bar and then just like what'd you expect? It's shit beer, like and just lean into it.
Well, Malort's done a great job leaning into the polarizing effect that it has on people. Some people legitimately love it. I think most people think it's disgusting, but it's a rite of passage. I'm not sure that old style has embraced
just being cheap like a natty. Like
you're
the bro.
I liked old style quite a bit when I was still drinking. Yeah. I liked all those part of it's nostalgia, right? Like I would drink Hams or Schlitz.
When
I was a kid, my grandma drank this beer called Red, White, and Blue, which they don't make anymore.
Yeah.
But they still made it when I was in college, so I would seek it out. Also, Black Label beer, which was disgusting and gave you the worst headaches. You know what beer is terrible if you're 23 and it's giving you a miserable headache the next day because you can bounce back from hangovers at 22 and 23 way better than you can in your mid 40s, which is one of the reasons I ain't drinking no more.
I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. I stick to the healthy stuff like Celsius for $2.79 a can.
Hey, to all those companies, shout out, no free shout out. We'll be in contact.
Yeah. Old Style's definitely gonna call you up after you refer to it as shit beer.
But it's the best. That's part of it. It needs to lean in.
They might need to workshop that a little bit. They might not go with shit beer.
Well, it's fine.
Yeah.
They haven't seen what it looks like yet. All right, the visuals will add.
Well, hey, man, send them your specs.
Brad, I think this is the part in the episode where I want you to do your shameless plug.
Cool.
Tell them who you are, where they can find you, and what you do.
Am I looking at you or am I looking at the camera?
Look at the camera, please.
All right. Is this can it be like Jackass, where it's like, hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and this is Jackass, and then you dump me over into a full porta potty?
Sure.
No. Yeah, sure. Oh, great. I'm sure you do. So my name's Brad Zibung. I said I'll try to say it without so.
Make sure you're focused.
Yeah. Cool. I'm Brad Zibung. I am a real estate agent at Compass here in Chicago. I have my own wonderful little team that Chicago Residential Partners. There's 6 of us, 4 full-time agents and 2 full-time operations people. I've been in the business 10 years. We've been top producers for quite a while. And we're based in Wicker Park, Bucktown, and we'll go wherever the work is and do whatever we can to deliver at a high value for our clients, which is probably kind of a buzz phrase, but I'll roll with it.
Perfect. All right, cool. Brad, thank you so much for
awesome.
being on the podcast. All right, everybody, take it easy.